You're listening to Train Yule's SMB Consulting Show with Bradford Jones.
Hey everyone, it's Bradford Jones, the Implementation Experience Manager here at Train Yule, back with another episode of discussing everything that's going on with our certified consultants and their clients and just the state of the world right now. So today is March 31st still, and the reason we bring up the date is because days matter right now. So this is a much different place than it was just a couple weeks ago as far as business and everything like that. So we're discussing this on March 31st, and we're so excited to have Tamara Kemper with us today. She's the owner of the Process Mavens, one of our phenomenal Train Yule certified consultants. And Tamara, you're based there in Arizona. So we are happy to have you from Arizona. I'm here in Tennessee today. So, but thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It's going to be awesome. I'm excited to get your perspective on some things. You and I have known each other for a while and, worked together with, certain things. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say on this. And, it's a critical time in our country and for lots of businesses, especially small businesses around the country. And so what are you seeing and hearing from your clients and what's going on in your world?
Yeah, so I serve a lot of different types of businesses. Almost all of them are professional service businesses, but everything from real estate to, I do have a hospitality client. I have manufacturing. I have everything. And so I find that it is a very different experience depending on who I'm talking to. Everyone's kind of seeing different things. So, obviously, hospitality has been hit pretty hard. Thankfully, the client that I'm working with is well prepared, and they're taking this time to really shore up their training and really kind of come back strong, come back when things come back as like, okay, we're going to have better standards in place. We're going to have a plan in place for how we want to train and have better experience for our guests. So that's been great. And then I have, some that are really no change. And so it's run the gamut, but everybody is definitely seeing something, some kind of a shift. And like you said, it seems like day to day, it's a little different because there were a few clients who I worked with maybe 2 weeks ago and they were telling me, not really, we're kind of seeing. And then now they're saying, oh yeah, big shift. We're really seeing that change. So I think something that I've been really being mindful of is staying in touch and checking in often. So even with clients who maybe I wouldn't talk to every single week, still making a point to reach out and see how they're doing and see if there's anything they need from us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's important as service providers, all of us who are vendors for a company like we are at Train Yule, to really be there for our customers as much as we can. Obviously, we don't want to be in the way and we don't want to, cloud what's going on their day to day. But I like that because, when we come out on the other side of it, you want to know who is with you, during that time. So, what tools and what are you using right now to kind of stay connected? And has anything changed from your tech perspective, as far as your tech stack or anything that's going on differently? I know, like me, I think mostly you work remotely sometimes and, things like that. So has anything changed in your world from that perspective?
Yeah, no, not internally. Internally, we've been remote mostly, and so we're continuing to do so. I did have a few local clients who I was going to meet, and we're just not doing that anymore, and it's been fine. But I will say that a lot of my clients had not done remote. So they had not done any remote work at all or very, very minimal. And so this has been an opportunity where we weren't really helping with that, but this has been a way that we've seen we can help our clients to help them bridge that gap. So we've been helping them to actually implement some software tools, implement some processes that help them to transition from almost completely face-to-face to a remote work. And that's actually something that we're going to seek to help others with as well, because we just really see that as a need right now. So things like, having a project management tool, we happen to use Monday.com, having something like Train Yule to be able to document your SOPs, being able to use something like Slack to have that communication with your internal team. Some even use it with their clients. So just helping them figure out the landscape, the lay of the land, how they want to use it and how to implement with best practices. So that's what we're doing right now with a lot of our clients.
Yeah, I still have my finger on the pulse of, the hospitality industry and the things going on right there. And like, that doesn't necessarily just translate to, turn it on and off to go remote. Right.
Nope.
And, for us as a SaaS company at Train Yule, it was pretty seamless. I've always been remote for my time at Train Yule, but it's, for everybody, like we already communicated through Slack and, used project management tools like Asana and things like that. So for us, it hasn't been, that difficult. But you're right. There are companies that had nothing. And so I think it's good that you're able to reach out and do that. Has there been a surprise for you that you've seen with the workforce right now, or just decisions that are being made, or just shifts that are happening? One of the things I think through is like what shifts in the workforce and just in general, like practices will last past the end of this pandemic. Will people stay remote? Will these companies that have had to change their business model, talking about delivery services and things like that, like, will that continue on? Like, do you have a take on that?
Yeah, I think that there's a couple different ways. You're either looking at this as a short-term pivot for all of us, or some people are really looking at this as like, okay, this is the opportunity that I've wanted to focus on something in particular, and now I'm ready to really go all in on this one thing. So I have one client who has a couple different lines of business, and when I started working with him, he just kind of felt like he was all over the place, and he was, his systems weren't in place, and here and here and here. And because of this situation, he can't really grow like 3 out of his 5 businesses. And so he's had to focus. He's had to sort of make the decision to focus on these 2 that are more remote friendly, what I would call remote friendly businesses. And even though it's really painful, I think he also is kind of feeling relieved a little bit to just be able to focus on that, like to just really give his attention to growing those sides of his business. And so, obviously for some businesses, this is just hard and there's no way to sugarcoat it and make it friendly. They're going to get through it. They're going to, as you said, hospitality is going to have a temporary, pivot to the pickup and the delivery and hopefully get back and be fine when it's all over. But, for other businesses, I think that this is just this once in a lifetime opportunity to go, okay, what do we actually really want to do for the long haul? And to kind of take that leap and do it. And I mean, to some extent, that's what I'm doing with my business too. It's like, okay, well, here we go, because this is what everybody needs. And so we're going to go all in and help people with this. So,
yeah, to your point, I mean, I think that, I think everybody, I've said this before, but everybody loves a scapegoat. And this is like sometimes the opportunity to use that as a good time to reset. And, unfortunately, the reality is layoffs, are happening or going to happen and, things like that. And I think this is an opportunity for people to, hit the reset button a little bit and do that. And, luckily, I think there's going to be a good amount of, federal and state level aid for small businesses. Now, we don't know how that pans out. It changes every day, it seems like, on, whether that is going to be, forgiven at the end of the year based on certain things. There's going to be some people who make some gambles, in this time. And I hope it works out for that perspective. But it seems like if you can be really thoughtful about that process, and, come out on the other side saying, okay, we used the resources that were available to us at the time. We made the best decision for our company. I think my personal opinion is I think we'll see some people come out stronger on the other side of it.
Totally. It's like this time where we're all forced to shake up maybe the rut that we were in, maybe without even meaning to be, So now let me say, this is me in my very best moment. I'm very optimistic right now. Like there are days and there are times where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is never like, I have 2 little ones that are behind this door somewhere. So, we are doing the crisis homeschooling here and all of that. So listen, I'm not trying to make light of anything, but I do think that there is an opportunity here in the constraint that's been given to us and in this moment in time to really make something special and make something that is the next thing that people need and that businesses need. So every business is different, and how and whether they're able to to make a pivot in that way. It kind of depends on the individual and the business, but I've really seen a lot of hope even among my, I have a client that's a DJ company, and, I was talking to them. I'm like, you guys have amazing content. You can put together a course. You can put, there's all kinds of things that can be done to weather the storm, and it's not perfect at all, but there's opportunity there and there's hope there.
Then you use the word opportunity. And so is there anything that you think maybe some either behaviors or like one-off things or, I don't know, some certain things that people could be doing during this time that they would look back in 6 months and say, wow, I'm really glad I did that during this time. Is there anything that comes to mind for you?
Yeah. So I have a couple of clients who really are doing their best to retain their employees at all costs. They really want to keep their team on. And so even though their business is slow, they've charged them with let's start documenting our processes. So kind of, write down your role, write down what you do, start recording. That's all those stuff that gets put off till later that never gets done. So that right off the bat, just super relevant, obviously, to this conversation. But that has been something I've seen. I think it's also a really good time to get better at executing on what you want to get done. Kind of similar to what I was talking about earlier. Sometimes there are so many things you want to do as a business leader, and you go after them all in a certain way, and it all gets a little bit diluted. And this is a time where you can really focus on one or two really key things that you want to get done, and get your whole team rallied around those one or two things and do them with excellence and do them with rigor and really stay on that track. This is the time you can set up systems to measure performance, measure that accomplishment towards those goals. And so since things are slow and you're not getting inundated, it's not slow for everyone, but for those businesses that are slower, a little bit slower, you're not going to have as many things maybe coming into your team's lives and throwing them off track, and they can kind of practice that muscle, exercise that muscle of accomplishment and executing. And so I think it's a really great time to get good at that. So, how to set goals, how to keep track of progress, and how to stay transparent. And that kind of goes back to those online tools, using tools so that everybody can see where you're at with things. So I think it's a really great opportunity for that too.
I love that, the strengthening a muscle there, because it almost seems like if you're in a season of I've ran half marathons in the past and things like that, and it was like if you could focus on what was that one thing, that one goal you have is like, if you're practicing for a half marathon or a marathon, you're running and getting your lungs going and all that other stuff. You're not focusing on your bench press, amount. You're not focusing on how many squats you can do. You're not doing anything like that. It's like you got that one goal. And so I love that idea of focusing on a few things that you could do really well. Because obviously, just like in that half marathon example, you're going to come out in better shape on the other side of it. You're not just going to, your arms may not be as strong as you want them to be if you're, distance running, but you'll be in a better place to then start building your upper body strength, because your whole body will be healthier. So I really like that idea.
And your team will be aligned. You'll know how to work together toward a common goal, so that then the next thing, when things pick up, it just is what you do. You just know how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been, I think seeing the opportunity in this is difficult to talk about because, it's just we want to look for the good things, but unfortunately there's so many bad things that are happening, right now with our staff and, all those other things. Is there any things that you've seen in your local area or your network or your clients of good things or feel good stories or anything from this perspective that you can think of?
Yeah. One of the things I saw today on LinkedIn, and I shared it back out, I think the hardest part for me right now, I haven't personally, I live in Arizona. As far as, infection rates and things here, it's still pretty I think it's still pretty low, and that part of it really hasn't hit us yet. But obviously we've all been quarantined, and we've all, we're all in our houses, and we've got our kids here, and we're trying to keep them educated and also keep them from driving us crazy while we're trying to work. And it's a hard balance. So I have found the sharing of resources for how to help kids be successful and how to still really keep that balance and that connection in your home has been phenomenal. Because I'm a former teacher. I'm supposed to be good at this. I'm not good at this. This is really, really, really hard. And maybe if I was full-time doing that, maybe it would be fine. But I just think people have been so generous with sharing what's working for them, sharing how to help kids really take, and this is another beautiful thing that I think is going to come out of this, is kids are having to learn how to self-direct their learning, how to self-direct, getting things done to a certain extent, because in a lot of cases, they don't have a parent right there next to them the whole time, telling them what the next thing and the next thing and the next thing they need to do is. So I've just been so grateful to people who figured out things and have maybe a history in homeschooling and are sharing those things. So that's for me, that's been huge, because that has been challenging. It's definitely thrown off the dynamics in our house, and it's essential, and it's so important to me personally to have a happy and thriving home, and it is sometimes not been in the last few weeks. To your point,
it's been amazing. I see in my circles from my former SMB partners and companies and stuff, and it's they're all sharing best practices in the business world too, as well, which has been phenomenal. It's hey, I just applied for this loan. It went through amazingly. If you, you as my competitor, if you need this, go talk to my guy at the bank. Then it's that, that kind of stuff. And there's so many overlaps. Sean, our learning and development lead, comes from the education industry, I guess, per se, the education background. And he speaks, about how many similarities there are in learning and education over to business. And obviously we're trying to bridge that, with Train Yule, with, getting knowledge out of people's heads and into other people's heads in a streamlined way. But you're so right that we can glean so much from what's going on in the family world and our children's world and all that kind of stuff. We've got 3 kids at home, and it's a struggle, for sure, just because like you said, they're used to having that direction. And it's the same thing for an employee who's used to having the direction of their supervisor or somebody to bounce something off of, and they don't have that right now. They've got to ping them. And even if you are using the best tools, that you can get back easily, it's not the same as walking up to somebody. So, I think the parallel you make between family, kids, education, all that other stuff is so applicable into the business world right now.
Absolutely.
And so, so what, if you were, to give a couple people some ideas or some tips or something on documenting how they're doing what they're doing right now, or just a way that you could do that, what's a couple of quick ones that you would recommend?
Yeah. So simplest thing is just on any given day, just jot down everything you do. So you just kind of keep a notepad right by your desk. And as you do something, just jot it down, kind of brain dump all the different tasks and procedures that you do. And then I always say for first round, literally just pop open a video app, loom.com or Snagit, or, if you have Zoom, you can record just a meeting with yourself, share your screen, and just messy. Don't worry about it. Pretend like you have a little buddy sitting right next to you, and just tell them how to do it. Just tell them how you did it. Save. And that one's done. Then if you get through all of them, you can go back and add steps and make them fancy and do whatever you want. But at least do that. It'll give you such a sense of accomplishment just to make your way through that list and have it done once and for all. And then that next time somebody asks you how you do something, you'll go, oh, I have a video, and you can just send it to them. And it's already been worth it.
We were doing some of that stuff, which obviously that's what I built my stuff around, and we've built it at Train Yule, but we were having to shift a couple of people's roles just because we had some other needs and departments that maybe used to have a ton of not as much capacity. Now they had more capacity, and so we were making some Loom videos. When I was making mine, I was just saying, I was way back when I would have said, all right, now for today, I just want you to do it this one way. But I sat down and like thought about it. I was like, actually, I'm just going to make this and not use anybody's name. And I'm going to just say it. And I'm just going to pretend like I'm trying to teach 10 people or, whatever, how to do this, or a classroom full of people. And, I tried to think through that. And so it's like next steps of that. But what you said about directing it at another person is so phenomenal, because if you don't skip over those things in your mind, like the assumed things, it's so much more valuable. So I love the idea of pretending like you're speaking to someone else.
Well, and the other thing I would say too is people, when they mess up on a video, they feel like they need to start over. So like if something goes wrong on the screen, or like you click something and something crazy happens, no, don't stop, because that crazy thing that happened is going to happen when somebody else does it. So just keep rolling, tell them what happened, explain why it happened, and then show them how to fix it. And now you've made an even more valuable video. So it doesn't have to be pretty. As long as they can hear you, you don't even have to turn your camera on if you don't want to. Just cover it up with a piece of tape, whatever. But yeah, no, I just always am a big proponent of like start messy with it. And then if later it becomes relevant to make it fancy and super professional, if you end up with a lot of people that you need to make a beautiful training program for, then yeah, that makes sense to make it more formal. But if it's just for maybe one other person who's going to have to do it sometime down the line, just get it done.
I think that's great. I think that's a great lesson there. Well, tell us about your business, and we'll kind of start heading towards the wrap up. But tell us about your business, and obviously people can get in touch with you at trainyule.com and with our certified consultants page. But you can tell us how to get in touch with you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are the Process Mavens, and we help professional service businesses to make things work better, to organize their business processes, and then also to do a lot of the things I talked about earlier. So to set up goals and set up systems to track those goals and teach your people to get on track and get those things done. So just everything that you can imagine in terms of operational improvements and operations consulting. So that's really what we do. And obviously love to use Train Yule as our preferred tool for documenting business processes, building trainings, building orientation and onboarding programs. So we help our clients with, kind of taking their ideas of how they'd like that experience to go. And we actually help them define learning objectives for, whatever needs to happen, integrating offline things that need to happen. So sometimes there's like practice and activities that have to happen offline. So we help them figure out where those things fit in the mix and put them together, their documentation. So
perfect. That's great.
Yeah.
And how can folks get in contact with you other than trainyule.com?
Yeah. So you can find us at theprocessmavens.com. And also you can find me on LinkedIn. So it's Tamara Kemper. I post on there pretty frequently. So those are probably the best ways.
Perfect. Well, hey, we're so proud to have you as a part of the Train Yule family, and thank you so much for your insight today. It's been awesome, and we're looking forward to seeing you again soon once this quarantine is over, and hopefully it's sooner rather than later. But all the best to you and your family, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bradford.
All right, talk to you soon. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to Train Yule's SMB Consulting Show with Bradford Jones. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you'd like to learn more about Train Yule and our certified consultants, head over to trainyule.com.